Hey there, folks. Going to do a market internal review for the short past week we just had starting on March 25th, Monday. So much of the week was quite restricted. A lot of squeeze, very tight range type movement. Last video I mentioned that I did not expect us to do a whole lot. I expected to make no new highs on the month. And I actually thought that ended up being correct, but I noticed in preparation for this video that literally on the last day, Thursday, near the last hour of the market, SPY actually made a new high. So still pretty proud of my analysis, though, just given that most of the week we really didn't do much. So if you follow the rules for TWAP ranges, we had a weekly gap down, and we followed the TWAP range, focusing on shorts, longs, chop signal, and potentially longs up here. So another indicator that I like to combine this with is the prior day's range. Most of these days were inside days. So this day, you've got our previous high, mid is right here, and previous low was right here. So this was an outside day. It's a good setup for shorts. This day here, we were outside of prior TWAP range and just above prior day high. This day was a big inside range because we had that fall off on Tuesday, and then only to buy all of that back up after a gap for a Wednesday end of day pump here. This pretty nasty one, really, which of course then creates another large inside day range, which takes us into the last day of March, Thursday, and mostly just hugging that prior day high price. Pretty odd pump up, flat line, and then a huge engulf reversal, landing pretty much right on prior day's high price, but above prior TWAP range and the weekly gap. So most of this week you can see per tick, very weak tick. Overall, not a lot of participation. We had OPEX, and then we had the JPOW speech on Friday. Of course, the market was open or closed for Friday. So overall, not much there to trade, at least using my tools. Looking at top index holdings, SPX and NDX, not a lot of action here either. We had a couple of moments where there was some strength, but I would say overall, nothing like what we've had in the past. So wrapping up March, looking at breadth, we did technically make that new all-time high, and we had a dip here on Tuesday. The 5 SMA across the top holdings of all the indices showing a significant downside was achieved per this signal, not per anything else, just the 5 SMA. And so that, I guess that was a decent dip buy. I think all these dip buys per this breadth indicator are becoming a little more scary, if you will, just because we continue to rise higher and higher, but we are holding the 20 and the 10 on SPY on the daily chart here. So all that is pretty good. So heading into the new month of April here, looking at where we're at new highs as well on the New York Composite Index. See, we held the first deviation high on monthly TWAP. So we are inside the range. So I'm going to be watching these lines here will be extended into starting tomorrow. And I'm going to be watching this range immediately. Same for SPY here. We did pull back. We didn't quite, I guess right there on Tuesday we hit first standard deviation on the month. And same thing, I'm going to be watching these deviations levels. So we've got 528 and a quarter, 523.7, and that 519. So all those are going to be things that I'm watching for. I'm going to really keep my eye on tech as well. Tech is very weak compared to the rest of the indices. Notice how SPY was heading back up towards to break out of the second deviation, but Q's actually closed within the first deviation. So this was more what I expected for the rest of the market as well. When I mentioned last video that I didn't expect any new highs, so tech delivered pretty much in full alignment with my analysis. SPY did surprise me with a little bit more strength that it had. Dow, kind of same thing actually. Dow was a little bit stronger. We rode up first standard deviation, flatline right around there before reversing back into new highs. Or sorry, similar highs. I guess we did not end up making a new high. So this is a little bit interesting with what has made new highs and what has not. And Russell as well. Midday broke out a third deviation. Again, not sure. Let's see. I think that was their high for the month. Yeah, so they also made a new high on the last day of March. So pretty incredible. So those are going to be the things that I'm going to watch for. What happens when Russ hits this level? What happens when SPY hits its new all-time high it just made on Friday? Pretty strong, and Dow is probably very close. But what has been pushing the market the most for the past, I almost say for the past year, has been tech, and tech is just not feeling it like the other indices. We had this huge gap up here, and then we've basically been filling it over the past remaining days of March. So back to breadth, we're looking pretty squeezed up here. Everything was running pretty high against all of the daily moving averages. So 255, those are all the ones I have turned on here for this indicator. And let's see, going back into the volume was pretty weak, save for the last couple days. So we had those chop days, and then this day and this day were pretty hot. So still majority bull days per the market breadth volume versus the sell. So we have a lot more of that. When we don't have strong buys, we mostly just have chop days. So a lot of accumulation towards upside. So that's where I'll continue to focus. And price-wise, we haven't had a strong buy day per breadth price movement, advancement or decline. Most times we get up to that 1500 area, and we immediately start to break back down. So definitely keep your eye on add 1500 level if you're using the internals, like I've discussed. That's very important. VIX is back down to lows again. We're almost back under 13 consistently. So that's another thing that you can keep an eye on. But overall, just gonna remain air quotes bullish, and just keep it. I'm keeping things a little lighter, and overall keeping my risk within tolerance given where we're at. And let's see here, next week, I think we had some PMI for S&P. We've got jolts. That one usually jolts the market. Fed speakers on Tuesday. And another Fed speaker on Wednesday. Another PMI. Okay, oh gosh, this week's gonna suck. JPOW on Wednesday. Now that's not minutes, that's just a JPOW speech, but that's JPOW, so keep that in mind. Earnings. Yeah, there's some of your earnings. Not seeing a whole lot of much of anything. I'm sure there's probably something, but I'm not seeing it. So anyways, coming to a close here on the video. I'm going to keep my eye on Qs. I think in order to show me some bullishness out of the tech market, certainly being able to close out 448, that 450 range, and really start to head back higher, that's going to convince me that maybe we'll see some more bullishness. If we keep prior monthly TWAP, which is 440, then I think overall safe to consider more bullish upside. So dips might be buys, but obviously you please do your own due diligence. That being said, I think that's going to pretty much wrap it up here, folks. I appreciate you watching, appreciate all the support, and as always, happy trading.